Well, welcome to another super helpful video from the Goat Shed. Today we're going to be troubleshooting the fast drawer we've already been doing work on over the last week or so. A lot of you will have watched our previous video, which was part one on how we disassembled and reassembled things and the separate ones on the drop targets. Now today we're going to start the game up and watch it reset. Now we've already started it once and we have discovered a couple of little problems, but we'll talk to you about those in a moment. So there's Spanky, he's having a look to see what's going on. So what we're going to do, we'll just start the game and away you go. Okay, that's wonderful. We can add one more player if we like, and that'll do us for now. Now what we found initially when we turned it on, the AX relay wasn't pulling in. So the way these things work, when you start a game, you press insert a coin or press the replay button and it starts the game rolling. The S relay comes in, holds on with a switch on its own, and the that starts up the reset sequence through the AX relay. Now the AX relay simply wasn't pulling in, and because it wasn't pulling in, it wasn't able to commence resetting the score reels via the Z1 relay. Now simply on the AX relay there's a switch, and it's a red and green on one side and blue and orange on the other, and that's the one that sends the signal up to the Z1 relay. It was just barely touching, so we've rectified that. Now the other problem we noticed was one of the score reels wasn't carrying over, so player one wasn't carrying over from the hundreds to the thousands. That was simply an end of stroke switch, which was bad. Now I'm going to show you that in a moment, but just before we go on, we should probably tell you that it's actually Friday, the 1st of July 2022. So down under here in Newcastle, New South Wales, Australia, it's a very miserable, wet and rainy day. It's about 13 degrees Celsius outside, which equates to about 55.4 degrees Fahrenheit. One of the biggest problems that you get with these machines, and I'm going to show you this to illustrate, is the hacks that people do on the front doors. Now it's quite incredible what people do. You've got to wonder why. But here we go. All those wires there went to the coin switches, the slam tilt, coin lockout and the replay button. Now they were all joined together and wrapped up in a white tape. So we felt that we should really fix that up. It's not really what we want. There was a switch bolted down there, and that was the thick switch you pushed in to get everything working. Now let's just go around the back and show you what the problem was with the score reel in a moment. But before we do that, we'll just show you some of the scoring functions on the machine. So this is a typical machine from this era. It has the ABC here at the top, so you need to roll over those. That's like a sequence. It has the drop targets, as we've already seen earlier on. And when you get them all down and they reset, the black one stays up to score 5,000 points when lit. And then we've simply got a whole value multiplier, A, B, C, plus 1,000 for each lit letter. Now, we haven't checked if every lamp's working. We did replace a lot of them. We might have some dodgy lamp holders in there, which we'll attend to. We've only got the flippers just in place at the moment. We put new flipper bats on. They've got to be tightened and adjusted. And the playfield didn't come up too badly. I mean, it was a bit of a mess. It is not real good around here. It has been painted, you can see, but there's nothing we can do about that. It's actually been lacquered. Not we thought there was originally a bit of clear coat or lacquer or something on there, and there was a bit of mylar on there as well. So that's a bit of a mess. But yeah, so what we can do now is operate the machine. And just show you some of the functionality of it. So let's have a look up here at the score reels. So if I roll over the B target, that's going to score me 50 points. And the B goes out. I've got targets up here in the top corners of the game. And they'll score 500 and add a bonus. Now, the out lanes score 500. We've got the pop bumpers there. 100 points. We haven't got the chimes hooked up yet. We never hooked the chimes up till last. And we've got some kick out holes here. Let's try those. In it goes. That one. Alright. So essentially we've got most of the machine working. It's now just a matter of checking and going through and troubleshooting what's wrong. Now let's show you what was wrong in the back, why it wouldn't carry over to 100. You'll notice now that 4, we'll just show you that at the top there. So 54, 60, 59. So before it wasn't carrying over to the 6,000, now it'll go to 64. So that was because there was a faulty switch. The end of stroke switch was not touching real good, therefore the power couldn't get through to the coil on the next one to carry over. So let's go and have a look at that. Right, so here's the 100-point reel out, and here's the offending switch here. That one there. So when we actually close that reel, that switch should close and stay closed, and the end of stroke opens up. That switch there gives power to the next reel, so it fires the coil. Now that's all the problem was. Now this style of Gottlieb score reels, around this era they used the dual switch. A lot of machines prior to this only had the one end of stroke switch. But whenever you see two switches, one of them, and it's always the one closest to the score reel, is the one that gives power to carry over to the next reel. So that was that problem. Now we've already gone over the player unit and everything like that previously. Just pop that back in, and let's take you around and show you under the hood. See that type of stuff people do? Those white wires were the ones hooked up to the coin door. I mean, it's just unbelievable what people do to get these things going. Now, we don't want that. As I said, we've disconnected it, and we'll be putting all this back together. This white jumper wire here, we've just got the slam switch shorted out on the front door because all the wires are disconnected till we repair that. That wire joined together there is off the W relay. Someone's done that a long time ago. So we'll probably have a little closer look at that, but the machine works, as you can see, without it. There's your AX relay there. We mentioned earlier on that wasn't coming on, and that was largely because the switch up in the back wasn't quite touching when it was closed. So what we did to discover that, now we haven't got a schematic for this game, so we're got to go in blind. When we pressed the start relay in, it was holding in under its own strength and spinning the score motor, which it was supposed to do, but the AX relay wasn't pulling in. So by putting further pressure on the AX relay with your finger, we could get it to physically work. So that's how we sort of had to troubleshoot. So you just got to do these things. Schematics aren't easy for us to get in down under. We're happy to buy them, or we try and make sure the customer has them, but they often haven't always got them. We've got a fuse trip in there at the moment. We accidentally shorted the common line out a little while ago, so don't want to keep blowing fuses. If you haven't got one of these, get one. They're very, very, very good, very handy. All you've got to do is press the button and if it pops. They're available at most electronic stores. So we've got a little bit more to do now, checking and so on and so forth. Let's have a look and just see some of the other features now. So further testing of the game functionality revealed that the left special light in the hole kicker wasn't coming on. So that's it over here. Now, initially you'd think, oh, it's just a burnt lamp, but we have changed all the lamps. But also, even though it wasn't coming on, it also wasn't paying a replay. So that led us to have to carry out further investigation. The way that works is you get the A, B, C out at the top, then you knock all, say, the left targets down, and then you'll get special, and it alternates off the middle pop. So now that's gone out, now it'll come back on. But we weren't getting any of that happening. Now, why was that the case? Okay, so we'll show you exactly why that was, and give you a bit of an insight into how we worked that out. Now, the right hand side drop target special was working perfectly, but the left hand one wasn't. So, as I mentioned earlier, we don't have a schematic for this game. We don't have that luxury. So you've just got to use a little bit of logic how the games work. Now think about this. All the drop targets have to be down, which they are at the moment. They're all down. And for that, then closes the butterfly here. And if you looked at our video we did earlier on drop target disassembly and reassembly, you'd be aware of that. And we also showed you how we tested from with all the switches closed from one side of the drop target to the other, and it all worked. But when we found this problem, we decided we'd retest that again, and we'd be able to see what's going on. Now we just have the meter, and now we have a circuit. The reason we didn't have a circuit was because a switch had a bad pad on it. So I'm just trying to get that in focus now. Where are we? It's a bit awkward to get in there. There it is there. This switch here just that blue wire out of the road and we should be able to see it a bit better. This switch here had a bad pad, so we've just dropped some solder on there. It was really loose, so we weren't getting good circuit. Now the other thing to remember when you're talking about these things, let's get in a better position to do this. You have to ensure that the long blade of the switch is touching the bottom of the trigger. So if it's not, so that's when the switch is up. See that? That switch is up. Where are we? Okay, it's touching the bottom of the trigger, and when we knock that switch down, it's still touching it. You get the logic of that? There it is again, just here. If you don't, the switches won't mate correctly. So once we did that, it all worked again. Now here's another thing. When we were doing this game, we noticed the wiring on the end of stroke switch was quite old, and the end of the wires were oxidised, and even snipping a bit of insulation back, they still seemed oxidised. So what we've done, we've put a brand new wire on that end of stroke switch, just this blue wire here. You can see the ends of them have got nice copper looks. It's funny that we show you that because just this morning or earlier on today or yesterday there was a post in one of the groups about someone's flippers getting hot, or one single flipper getting hot. They'd replace the coil. So it's normally got something to do with the wiring. This is a fairly common sort of thing. So the things you've got to look out for as you're going over the games. Everyone that follows our videos knows that we pull everything apart and check everything, but obviously sometimes we miss things. Now we missed that switch over there on the drop targets with the spinning contact pad, but you know, it's easy to do, and you've just got to go over it and check it and watch everything works. Just ensure that everything's working well. Now Spanky was doing a bit of quality control. Even though the game's resetting correctly, this relay here is the Z1 relay. Now it's very hard to see in the camera there, but there is a gap and it's a little bit spongy returning. Now there we got a bit of focus now. It's a bit hard to see that gap, but there's a bit of upward stroke on that. See that? We don't like that. So what we're going to do, we're going to adjust the spring tension, or give it a bit of bias, as some people say, on the blade. Now how you achieve that, you get the long blade, and each one you just give them a little tweak. See what's happening? You're giving it a little bit more tension against the ladder.
Do both sides.
Do both sides. Very important you do each side. Same sort of thing, just coming forward toward the front of the ladder. Now naturally, once you've done this, you have to readjust the switch gaps. It's just doing one more. Let's just have a look how it's springing now.
Who's better?
There, that's much better. You can see that springing back into place. Makes a huge difference. A lot of people would cut this spring here. That would help, but it wouldn't fix the problem because it's the ladder and the friction in the ladder struggling to get home. That spring is to restore the ladder, but the switch blades make a big difference. So that's a very, very useful tip when doing relays, and especially relays like the Z1 with a lot of switches on them. Now, another useful thing you can do, we mentioned earlier on about that special light there not working. So we'll just drop the target down and it'll come on now because we remedied that. But what you can do if you're not sure whether it's a blown lamp or bad socket, you can hook up another light socket to it, just clip it on and you'll know whether it's working. Now just remember, on a Gottlieb game, the bare wire running on the base of the playfield or the playboard is the common circuit. So you can basically hook it up to that and then onto the power side, and even if you wanted to test another light was working or not working, you can do that also. It's quite a useful thing to do or to have. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense to you. So there we go, another useful tip. So further testing of this Gottlieb fast draw revealed a few little problems pop up. One of which, the ball all of a sudden stopped returning to us. So having a bit of a look at what colour wire was on the ball return coil and what colour wire was on the ball return relay, we found a switch which was cleaned, but it just wasn't quite touching right. So we attended to that, and that got that going. Also, just a reminder, when you're doing relays, always ensure that you tighten the screws before making any adjustments on the switch stacks. We do that every time we do a machine. We did that early in the piece. Now, the other problems that we found on this machine, where the pop bumpers weren't firing consistently or not at all off the skirt, and all we needed to do was really adjust the switches. I think we might be able to get in here and show you that. Let's see. It is damn hard. There we go. Sorry about the wobbling, I can't help it. I'm trying to do this. I have a gimbal, but I haven't got anywhere to lean the damn thing at the moment. So, this is the right hand bumper. This switch here was a bit far apart, so you just adjusted the small blade. Matter of fact, we did that on all the bumpers. Now, we also mentioned earlier in the video that we were going to run an earth lead, and we've done that to the front door. We do that to all our games. We've brought the earth lead from the back of the game, grounded it out, and then followed it off to the door. We believe that's important for safety and peace of mind. Now, we've got to further test this, but we should have a much better playing game now. So let's just put the playfield down and have a look at the action of the bumpers and see if it's made any improvement. See how we go. Didn't get much action there. We'll just do this manually. So they're all good. The top right hand one wasn't firing very well at all. Looks lovely with the new drop targets on it. And of course, being a multiplayer game, everything resets at the start of a new ball. Unlike a single player game where you've got the whole game to its specials, etc. On these multiplayer games, you only have the one ball to do it in. So it's a nice player. Oh, there you go, we've already got another problem there. See the top right hand 100 light's not coming on. It's there. Just probably a bad socket. Have to have a look at that too. This is why it's so important to test the things. So we'll fix that now. Now on this game, the bumpers are activated by A, B, C. So A activates the left bumper, B the middle, and C the right hand one, but it hasn't come on. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's just a bit loose in the socket, so just get a pair of pliers and pinch that, but of course you have to do that with the machine off. So there we go, I've simply crimped that lamp socket a little bit with pliers. And it's not blinking anymore. Now, a lot of people say, why do the lights go out on the bumpers and things when you're playing a game? Well, the reason that is, there's a switch on the score motor, normally on stack D or E. But when the score motor moves, the lights go out. That's why. There's nothing wrong with it. So we've got to further test this game now. We've got everything working. We can probably happily put that bumper cap back onto the game. we'll do that. Customer ordered new bumper caps, but they only got the star. So if we drop down these drop targets now, like so, we now have a special one up there. Remember that alternates on, off, and there we go, we've got a replay. And that good bumper action up there. So, multiplayer testing time now. And then this game is almost done and ready to go back to the customer. We've done all the lights in the back box and checked all the match lights, they all work. So yeah, we're very close to having this going. Well, the machine's playing great, but further testing revealed the extra bonus light on the last ball was a bit intermittent in coming on. So on investigation, we discovered the LB relay in the trip bank here, which we've got folded down now, had a switch in it which was a little dodgy, and it's this switch here. It's a make-break switch. Now if we trip this, and I'll come around here and I'll show you, focus, focus, focus. Yeah, it's this switch here. I don't know if I can... This one. So the shorter blade down there didn't have an awful lot of pressure against it. So this is one of those cases where we had to adjust the long blade and then the short blade, and we gave the long blade on the other side a bit of attention too to give it a bit more pressure. Now it works fine. So when we trip that relay now, you'll see that switch is...
It's got pressure on it.
It's got pressure on it. There it is there. See the switch moving back? It wasn't doing that before. So that's fixed. Now, there was one more problem we noticed. As insignificant as it was, we'll just show you that problem to do with the at the game over. So at game over, all four lights on all four players light up. Now, on this one, player 2 wasn't lighting. Now, it's got to do with player 1 and 2, it turns out, work off the BX relay, and player 3 and 4 work off the game over relay. On the BX relay there was an orange and black wire, I think it was, which has a continuation going through four lugs are joined by a solder joint. 3 or 4 lugs are joined by a solder joint. You know how Gottlieb put the thicker wire through the holes, and it was a bit dodgy. There's a bit of a cold solder joint on one of those. So once we got the soldering iron out and fixed that up, we found that by just getting a screwdriver and jiggling it around, and yeah, when we hit this certain spot, anyway, that fixed it. Not that that was a major problem, but like I said, we try to get everything to work as it should when it leaves here, as it was when the thing was brand new. It's not always possible, but we do try. Sometimes you get parts missing and things like this out of games, but we try and manufacture things. So we're fairly happy with this game now. We believe that we'll test it over a few more days in 1 and 2 player and 4 player and modes. Everyone realises these games don't get played in 4 player modes much these days. It's one of those things. I think at the end of the day, most of them are only played in 1 player, for sure. But needless to say, another one comes alive. This was really a bit of a mess when we got it. We seem to end up with a lot of machines like that. And we've just organised for a Pioneer to come in on Wednesday. So that'll be a lot of fun. And we'll be doing our What's Happening in July video very shortly too, so everyone should look out for that. Once again, we thank you for watching our videos, and we encourage you to give us the thumbs up and by liking our videos, and we would encourage you to subscribe to our channel so you get notification of when our videos occur. So this has been another Goat Shed presentation.